Greetings and welcome to Patriot Six. Today I'm going to extend the Quick Reference Guide series, and I'm going to pick up Quick Reference Guide 1-Alpha and go from there. And the task for this video is to replace the two runways. I am at Kilo Charlie, Kilo Victor, and I have the editors up and ready to go. If you haven't seen the video 1-Alpha and you don't know how to start an airport overwrite package, then I suggest you watch the Quick Reference Guide 1-Alpha. I will link it in the description below. You may have to tick on the Show More button to find it, but it will be the first YouTube link you find. And now let's get started. Zone in with editors open and scenery folder loaded. With me at Kilo Charlie, Kilo Victor, and the two editors up, the project editor and the scenery editor, and with the project that I started in 1-Alpha loaded in. Bring up the Properties window and delete all runways. I'm going to bring up the Properties window, and that's from Scenery, View, and Properties. And now, over in the Scenery Editor, I'm going to tick on Outlaw, the Airport folder, and the information comes up in the inspector, and I'm going to pull the inspector out and expand this a bit. I'm going to choose the Delete command, and I'm going to select Delete All Runways. Okay, the runways are now deleted. View the official airport chart. If I pull up the chart on the airport, you see we have two runways, 35 at 347 degrees and 5,999 feet long. Runway 5, 053 degrees at 4,004 feet. Both runways are 100 feet in width. This is going to be a simple thing to do. We can use the information that's in the Jeppesen chart in terms of our length, our width, and our direction. But we really don't have to do that. And we could simply do the conversion from feet to meters, knowing that 3.28 feet are in a meter. But since the runways can be seen visually, so let's go ahead and do these visually. Add a runway and change the surface materials. On the Scenery Editor, I'm going to tick All. And I'm going up to the Object Type and change from Scenery to Runways. And let's start with 35. I've selected 35 and I'm going to tick Add. And with 35 selected, we can go up to Materials. And we don't want it transparent, and we do want it ground merging. And we can select any material we want. For this guide, I will use the default color, the asphalt, on runway 5, but I'm going to change the material on runway 35 just so you see how it's done. So I'll bring the materials up, and I'm going to leave the runway as it is right now. So I'm going to Asobo runway, and I want to make sure I'm ticked on the new runway. And if I look in the Properties window, I see that the default surface is Asphalt 02. So let's say instead of asphalt, we want concrete on this runway. Then on the material editor, I'm going to get off of Runway and go to Asobo Concrete. And I'm going to select Square White. So I'm going to grab this material and drag it up into the surface window. And now we have white concrete. Configure the runway. So I'm going to now tick off the materials and I'm going to configuration. And the configuration of the runway pops up. And I could go in here and change the width in meters and length and heading. But instead, as I said earlier, I'm going to do this visually. I'm going to use the gizmo to rotate it and get it in position it looks right. I may have to change this again after we get farther along. I'm going to zoom in close and set up the width. Using the tool, I'm going to line it on the edge. It looks like it's in the right heading. One of the reasons I like editing runways this way, the start points will move with the runway. If I typed in the length of the runway right now, the start points would stay in the middle. But if I stretch the runway out, the start points will follow. And that takes one step out of the process. Let's get the width as best we can. So now let's lengthen this runway out. And we may have to adjust the heading a bit again. Let's go to the other end. And let's drag it along. Make sure I'm ticked on the runway. I'm going to rotate and let's see if we can get this thing lined up a little better. It is kind of hard to see. Over here in the heading, we could type in a number manually and get it perfect, or we could cheat a little bit and just make it a tad bit wider. That seemed to work fine. It's up to you. You do however you want to do it, but I took the easy route. And as I stated earlier, the start locations moved with the runway as I lengthened the runway. Otherwise, they would have been up here in the center and we would have to manually move them, which can be done, but I'm showing you the quickest way I have found. Add runway markings. Okay, now on the properties window, let's tick on markers. I'm going to give the runway all of the features that are nice. I'm going to tick on edge markings, threshold markings. If I was in Europe, I'd want to tick on this Europe setting. Let's do the fixed distance markings, touchdown markings. Let's do center dash line. I'm going to tick on precision markings. I'm going to skip the extra pavement because we do not have extra pavement here. I'm not interested in any of the rest of this. So, satisfied with the markings, let's go to lights and let's do a center line high and edge lines high. Now I'm going to tick on runway start. So I'm going to the secondary and edit the position. And let's move it up just a bit. Now let's do the same thing on the primary end. Here's the runway start on the primary end. I'm going to edit the position and move it a small amount. That should work. Let's go ahead and save the scenery just to be safe. Down here on the scenery editor. Now let's go to the second runway, adding the alternate runway. On the objects window with runway as the object type, I'm going to select 05 and add. I will continue building the alternate runway using the exact processes. I will use the default asphalt for this runway and resume commentary when I perform a new task. I am resuming the commentary with a new task. Adding extended pavement threshold to the runway. Now let's tick on pavements. I'm going to leave the material as the default asphalt. And we do have an overrun on a secondary, so I'm going to tick secondary overrun. And I'll move the runway up to here. And now back on the threshold, I'm going to leave the materials the same. And now let's add some length to it. I'm not sure what this is, so I'll start typing in numbers until I get it. Okay, the threshold seems to be pretty good. Let's change the materials to match the runway. So I'm going to go with a Sobo runway. And this is asphalt 02. So I'm going to find the runway asphalt 02 and drag it up into the materials for the secondary overrun. There. Save the scenery and build the package. We have rebuilt the two runways, so let's save the scenery. I'm going to take the properties off. I'm not going to be needing it any longer today. And now on the project editor, I want to tick on the package. And now let's build the package. The package is built, and the good news is we do not have any errors. So the package is saved and built, so it's static for right now. Test the scenery project in the simulator. So let's look at the working scenery folder and also the community folder. So what I'm going to do is put this package in temporarily into the community folder, and then we're going to load up and see what the runways look like and make sure everything worked in the package. So I'm going to open Kilo Charlie Kilo Victor. I'm going to open packages. Here is the package. I'm going to copy the package and paste the package into the community folder. And the package is down here in the community folder. Now let's turn the tools off and restart the sim and see how this looks. Okay, the simulator is loaded in. So the first thing I'm going to do is go to Profile and Content Manager. I'm going to type in Kilo Charlie Kilo Victor. And we do see that the project is in the community folder, so that's good. And now let's go to Kilo Charlie Kilo Victor and see what we have. Okay, back at Kilo Charlie Kilo Victor, and we do see the concrete runway. And we see the secondary runway and the secondary start. Good. And let's turn the lights down and see what the runway lights look like. All right. We have good runway lights. I'll run down and check the primary end. That looks good. Good here. And good on the 05 end. Remove the test package from the community folder. Before I leave, I want to mention one more thing. The first things I'm going to do after I shut the simulator down is to go to this package in the community folder and delete it out. Now you can leave it if you're through. This is all you want to do, but I'm going to be doing more to this airfield in the reference guides. and I don't want this package to load in the next time I start working on this airport. So I want to say that I've watched this video and I noticed some digital artifacts in the voice. I apologize for that. It's not terrible, but as a guy that worked in a recording studio, it drives me nuts. So I will do my best to resolve the issue. Wrap up. And now I'm going to stop this quick start reference. If you're not a subscriber, please consider joining Patriot Six. If you look in the description below and click on the show more, you'll find alternative ways in which you can reach me outside of YouTube chat. We do have a very good Patriot Six scenery group on Facebook that I am active in, but besides me, there's also other folks that are active in the community. So there's always someone to help you with questions. But you do have alternative methods to reach me. And with that, I'm going to say goodbye. Please consider subscribing. This is Patriot Six, and I will see you in the next reference guide.